Over the years, I've tested a lot of different pieces of backpacking gear, and one of the things that I absolutely love is when a piece of gear really stands out for just being something that works really well, that is designed really well, and becomes something that I want to use as much as I possibly can. And today, we're going to talk about one of those items. This is the Hyperlite Mountain Gear Waypoint 35 Ultralight backpack. Let's dig into it. Now, I bought the Waypoint 35 because I have really come to find the 35 to 40 liter size backpacks to be the sweet spot for me in capacity for my weekend focused trips, especially warm weather trips where I'm not carrying really heavy gear or big bulky gear like I might in the winter or cold months of the year. And so the 35 liter size just works really well for my particular gear loadouts, being about a 12 to 15 pound base weight and then carrying no more than 28 to like 32 pounds total for any of my weekend trips from like March to late October. Now, the general specs and features of the Waypoint 35 are first that it's a minimally designed backpack. It is meant to be fast and light and carry lighter weight loads of gear. 35 liters of capacity. You're not going to be able to put a lot of stuff in here to begin with, but it's also not meant to carry much more than 35 to 40 pounds comfortably. I've carried 28 to like a max of 32 pounds, I think, in this pack, and it's been plenty comfortable for that, but I'm not going to want to push it beyond that. And I don't really think I'm going to be able to get much more than that weight-wise in the pack unless I am doing some kind of water carry with it. So with that in mind, it has everything that I do want out of a small pack like this. It has a frame on the inside of it. It has an integrated hip belt. It has decently sized pockets here on the side where I can get 2 water bottles if needed into the pocket, and they are accessible with the backpack on. I've got a Dyneema stretch pocket here on the front. The side pockets are made from 100 denier Dyneema material, and the body of the pack is made from a Dyneema composite fabric as well. Comes in 2 different colors, white or black, and I believe that depending on which of the colors you get, the black is going to be a heavier weight Dyneema, the white is going to be a lighter weight Dyneema. In a size medium, which this pack comes in 4 different torso sizes, the size medium has a weight of just over 23 ounces in the black color. So that's lightweight. That is something that is not adding a ton of weight to your overall base weight in a pack of this size. And for it to be able to carry what it does, it's impressive. So let's get it back down on the ground and walk through my experience with the pack so far and really dig into some of the features that I really like and some of the things that I don't like or would change about the backpack. Now, at this point, I've had the Waypoint for several months and I bought it at its full retail price of $359. So this was absolutely an investment, and I'm glad it's paid off because I just love this pack. I want to use it as much as possible, and it is probably going to be one of my go-to packs for quite some time at this point. This I've had out on several trips at this point, student trips as well as in the mountains, in the desert, and been able to just really dial in what I like and what I don't like about it. So let's break it down. The overall build of the pack is impressive. I like the way that it packs for a small backpack. It is a really like low volume pack. Here at the bottom, I'm not able to get anything that's of like real big bulk in here. So taking something that is like a really cold weather sleeping bag is not going to be the best approach with this particular pack. I'm going to want something that is a bit bigger because here on the bottom, it is such a small space that I need to be able to compress my quilt or my sleeping bag down pretty small to be able to fit in that space. And otherwise, like, things pack in here just fine, and any of the tents that I've rolled up and put inside, it's worked out just fine. But anything that is a bit bulkier in size of its pack size doesn't necessarily work great with this pack. So it really is, again, just a minimally focused, just lightweight focused gear backpack. With that, it has all of the pockets and things that I need for me to enjoy myself on the trail and pack the way that I need to. It's fall, leaves are falling from the sky. Here on the front of the pack, I've got a fairly decent sized stretch pocket here, and I'm glad to see that it is that just very durable Dyneema stretch in this case, because Hyperlite loves to use Dyneema, but this is something that I know is going to last for a long time. It's going to be durable, and especially in the desert when I'm going through narrow canyons or scraping against slick rock, this I don't have to worry so much about being destroyed as I would with something that doesn't have the durability of this. And I'm able to get everything in here that I need. There is a small plastic clip here at the top that just kind of contains things a little bit. It doesn't have any adjustment to it, but I'm very easily able to get a poop kit. I've got a first aid kit in here, and then with no problem, I also get either a small jacket or my electronics kit or my water filtration stuff in the pocket there as well. And it's just a nice, really easy place to store those things. On the side pockets, like I mentioned before, you have enough space, good volume for 2 water bottles, or a water bottle and a tripod, or like a small tripod. That's relevant in my case because I'm filming my trips and often carrying a tripod in that case. But it might be a small closed cell foam pad, or a minimally focused chair, or my tent poles or trekking poles, whatever I want. I have the volume here, and on the pocket you have a shock cord adjustment, which is not always like something that I love necessarily, but I pretty much just set it, forget it, and leave it. But I can also easily access bottles, reaching back and getting them out, putting it back in without really any trouble. I've got compression cord here on each side that is also detachable with a buckle. So I'm just containing and making sure like trekking poles or my tent poles stay secure for those taller items. That is going to be on both sides of the pack. And then here on the top of the pack, you do have a Y strap that is, it's decently sized in its length, but I don't think you're going to get a bare canister in there. More so like a closed cell foam accordion style pad or jacket, something that is just kind of lower profile. Maybe like a really small bare canister could fit on top of that, but I can't show you that because I don't really backpack with bare canisters. Now the pack itself is a roll top design, and you have the buckles on the sides of the pack here. So nice, good roll top and a big opening, and it rolls down and it's able to compress into a smaller size, no problem. Right now I've just got a bunch of stuff in there, but you can roll it down, and I could, if I wanted, buckle this across the top, but the side buckles here work just fine in managing the compression and just keeping everything nice and tight in the pack. Now these side straps, they're not removable from the pack. They are sewn in, so you might as well just use those as opposed to clipping those two pieces together at the top. And that's pretty much the body of the backpack. Let's talk about the suspension and get into the things that I don't necessarily like about the pack or that I would change. This is a framed backpack, and I am putting quotations on there because a frame kind of would imply that you have quite a bit of structure with this. What this pack has, and it's sufficient for the design because it is such a small volume pack, but one aluminum stay that runs through the spine of the backpack. You have some foam in here. I think it's a 1/4-inch piece of foam that does add some comfort and a little bit of rigidity in the body of the pack, but just a single aluminum stay that goes down into the hip belt area. And then here on the belt is an integrated removable hip belt. So I can change and like not even carry the hip belt if I want, or I could use a different size hip belt. Like, it just has some option there. On the shoulder straps, I have a nice wide shoulder strap that carries really comfortably. It is a good experience with that. And you've got a stretch, again, Dyneema stretch material here on the pocket. And they are also adjustable with a shock cord that is right here on the edge of the pocket. And there's one on each side. They are sewn in, and I find them to be sufficient for what they are. I'm not gonna get like a big water bottle in here very easily. It's kind of a tight space. So I find that it works well for like a soft, like that's just unnecessary. That's too big for what that is. But if I'm using like a 700 milliliter size soft flask, running style bottle, that would fit in there fine. Cell phone, snacks, satellite messenger, those kinds of things fit in those pockets just fine. Sternum strap with a whistle buckle that doesn't have a piece of elastic on here. I would like to see that just so that you have some expansion in your breathing, but it is an adjustable height. And so that's pretty much the like suspension system or the shoulder straps and hip belt. But the things that I don't like about this and would change are when I am carrying a little bit heavier loads, the hip belt does seem to slip, particularly in the lumbar area here, which is kind of strange. Like, it's not like the pack is like falling off of my back, but it just seems like it starts to sink lower and lower on my back, and then I have to like lift it up and adjust the tension on the buckle of the hip belt. And this is my other issue. This here on the lumbar, I wish was just a touch like sticky, or just had a bit more like, I don't know, texture to it so that it stayed in place on your lumbar a little bit more. But I think all of the hip belt working together is what would make that function better. On the hip belt itself, the adjustment happens at the buckle for bringing the hip belt together. So it is a dual adjust. I can adjust one side or the other, or keep them the same on both sides. What I wish was that the buckle adjustment or the adjustment for the hip belt happened at the edge of the hip belt and not at the buckle itself. That would just make it more comfortable. And when you're pulling your webbing across your body, it's a lot easier to get the adjustment that you want, as opposed to pulling through like against your stomach. If you are familiar with the difference, you probably agree with me, but I don't think it is a deal breaker in any way, because obviously I really enjoy this pack. But that is something that I would like to see changed. Okay, quick interruption here, because as I was driving home from talking about the Waypoint, I thought, I've got an Unbound 40 at the house. I wonder if the hip belt from the Unbound could be used on the Waypoint. So let me show you this here real quick. I have taken the Waypoint hip belt off of the pack. I also took my Unbound 40 hip belt off, because this hip belt on the Unbound 40 has that dual adjustment that I was talking about, that also pulls from the sides as opposed to coming across. And what I believe is happening with the slippage on the hip belt is that single buckle here on the Waypoint buckle belt is slipping as you are going down the trail. And so you're not getting as good of a, or it's not as secure as it could be. So I took the Unbound 40 belt and I slipped it through and put it on, And I gotta tell you, I definitely notice a difference already in just how much more comfortable it is. The belt is the exact same size, but just that motion right there is so much better. And it just feels better across the waist as opposed to this single strap. It's already just distributing that so much better, and it feels a lot more secure. So I am not the only person that has thought about this. There are several reviews on the Hyperlite website of people saying swap the belt, or they swapped the Waypoint belt for the Unbound 40 belt. There you go. I'm not alone. Now I do like the size of the hip belt pockets on the hip belt. Easily able to get a cell phone in there and all of my snacks and everything. Now it's nice that I have hip belt pockets and shoulder pockets, because what I find often happens is a company will put shoulder pockets on and then they say, well, that's good enough. We don't need to have hip belt pockets. I'm glad to see that there is all of that, so I can put a lot of stuff and calories and food and everything at the ready while I'm out there on the trail, and just enjoy myself with that flexibility. So I gotta say, I'm just really impressed with the design of this backpack, with how well it carries the weight, the fit for me and my body, and just the quality of the pack. It is also something I didn't mention, it is seam taped on the inside. Only on the vertical seams though, so I'll show you some B-roll here. I did actually add some seam tape to the horizontal seams of the inside of the pack, but that at least gives a little bit of added protection for those really wet days of water getting to the inside. Now I'm obviously going to protect the gear inside. It's not a waterproof pack, but it is nice to have a little bit of added protection. But it just is a really enjoyable pack to carry down the trail. I just really enjoy it. It was absolutely worth the investment, and high quality, well designed, and something that I really look forward to using for the years to come. That is the Waypoint 35 from Hyperlite Mountain Gear. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments, but that's my experience and review of this pack. Thanks for watching today. If you're not subscribed, you know what to do. Hope you have an awesome day. We'll catch you in the next one. See you later.